I'm the president of EPRINC. I'm going to go very fast through this stuff, but I want to let you know everything is on our website. You can pull it down. We have been around since 1944. Did a lot of work in the 50s and 60s, mostly on the downstream side, but we have a very active project now on the upstream. And what I'd like to talk to you today is about not so much the economic value of Keystone, but how it fits in with a kind of strategic advantage for North America and the United States, and more importantly, its role in what we see as a major paradigm shift. It is that we are now entering an era in which the United States can be a major value-added processing center in terms of traditional petroleum production, not just gas, but oil. And you know, years ago I had this gig for the CEO of Cray Research. They make supercomputers. It was a really interesting. They dominated the world, the weather centers, weapons centers, and the CEO, John Rollwagon, was really worried about a paradigm shift. He hired a guy to go around and talk to all the labs all the time about how these things creep up on you. They had the Swiss watch thing switched to digital. He had all these great examples. I mean, he spent a lot of effort on this. There was a paradigm shift. Cray didn't see it. It just rolled right over them, and they became a third-rate computer company. So they're very hard to identify. Nobody likes to believe it. If you look in terms of how the think tanks spend their effort and their money and their resources here, you'll find very little work in some of the things I'm going to show you today. They're still working on climate. They're still working on a lot of exotic biofuels and technologies. Okay, next slide. So this is the route. What you need to understand about this is not just a project to take production from the oil sands in Canada and bring it down to the Gulf Coast. It is part of a major shift in how oil and gas is produced in the United States. We historically produced our oil and gas in the Gulf. We moved it up the North American continent. But what's happening now with the emergence of the Bakken, the Williston Basin, I'll show you a little bit on this, the emergence of Utica Shale and the very wet window that has, the granite wash, everything. We now have a mismatch in our infrastructure. We have emerging production coming out of the northern tier, the far north of Canada, and we need to put in the infrastructure to move it back down and get those economic benefits. Next slide. This shows you if you go to your far right, the estimates made from the National Petroleum Council. Several hundred people worked on this project. And the one on the far right, I think, initially when this came out, people said, well, that's kind of ridiculous. You're showing that North America could expand its production by 2030, 2035 by 10 to 12 million barrels a day. You know, someone has lost their mind at the NPC. I think this was, ridiculed by a lot of people. I'm going to show you how the building blocks of this are already in place by 2017. Now, that, as Karen pointed out, to hit that high number, you have to do a lot on the offshore, you have to have continued improvements in technology, you have to have access, and you have to have a rational government decision making. All of them are doable except the last. Okay, next slide. I don't think anyone understands. We import today 2.5 million barrels a day from Canada. 1 million of that is oil sands. About 1.5 million is $1.5 million is conventional crude, about 1 million oil sands. Now here's the issue with Keystone and all these things that happen. I think if you look at the lessons of Governor Corbett, what did Governor Corbett do in Pennsylvania? He said, look, I'm embracing this natural gas, this shale gas revolution. And then I'm telling everybody, look, you have to get in the room and work it out in terms of the community impacts, the environment, everything. That's what's missing. We're not sending a set of expectations to buyers and sellers. Look, we're serious. We're serious about North American expansion of oil and gas. But we're sending sort of very hesitant signals. The question about Keystone, think about Keystone. They've been studying this longer than it took us to prosecute World War II. This is ridiculous. This is a major, high-valued infrastructure project. It should not be this hard. We did a piece, they changed the title for the Wall Street Journal called From No-Brainer to Brain Dead. They changed it to Keystone debacle, but that is actually, but you see, the Canadians want to go to 6 million barrels a day. But they need to know, the investors need to know, are we serious about accepting this? Are we going to be part of the integrated North American market? Or are we going to send a lot of sort of strange signals about our hesitancy towards it? Next slide. All I want to say about this shows you the cost of oil sands production, different kinds of, one of the things that we're not really thinking about, and why this is a much more doable scenario, is the low price of natural gas. If you look at the bottom on the steam-assisted gravity drainage, which is an in-situ process, a process that doesn't cause you to scar the earth, but that process relies heavily on relatively cheap energy. Well, guess what? We have a lot of it coming out of North Dakota, a lot of it out of Saskatchewan, and it's natural gas at very low prices. In fact, I'm very much concerned. I think we have not seen the bottom of the price of the natural gas market. And by the way, and the question of what we should do, how we should let the market decide some of these things. We're not one of those people who say we should do everything. Actually, our view is we should do the stuff that's cost effective. The reason someone floats a multi-billion-dollar rig in the Gulf of Mexico, drills deep into the earth and produces the dense energy that's under that, is because its value is more than its cost of production. But we have a strategy that says, well, we don't really like that. We're going to try to produce things in which its value is less than its cost of production. And I think if you try to wrench the economy that way, you're going to be really unhappy. You're going to get a lot of bad results. Okay, now next slide. This is just sort of to reinforce we are already getting a lot of oil from Canada. By the way, under NAFTA, the Canadians can send all the oil sands oil they want to us. They can ship it by backpack, by truck, by rail, by ocean tanker. It's only the cross-border pipeline that's causing the problem, which turns out to be the most cost-effective and environmental-friendly alternative. Okay, next slide. This shows you the oil shale plays in the United States, and we have a very big project on this. We have a young woman who came from London School of Economics, but she came out of a drilling family, very knowledgeable in geology, geophysics, and we send her out every month. She spends about a week in a different play. Williston Basin, Niobrara, Granite Wash, Permian. Can you believe that the Permian is now looking very promising for expanded production? All of this is the application of what happened on the shale gas plays to the liquids, to oil. Utica in Ohio, very interesting, because one of the reasons this project presumably was canceled or punted is because the administration feels that they need to do something with their environmental base and maybe it could help them in some of the swing states. It turns out Utica is a major swing state, and about the time of the election we're going to see initial oil production in Utica. It's going to be very interesting to watch the debates. Next slide. Well, this shows you the rig activity. This is from a Baker Hughes application. Anybody can download it. And you can see that the blue, which is the oil, that is moving up. You can see the great drilling taking place in North Dakota. In fact, North Dakota last month exceeded 500,000 barrels a day. It's almost 8% of American production. And we have a lot of permit data out of Ohio. It's looking very interesting. Okay, next slide. This is our conservative estimate by 2017 of what we think is going to happen for unconventional liquids on land in the lower 48. In other words, we think by 2017 we're going to see an expansion of over 2 million barrels a day of domestic production on land, combined with easily taking another 1 million barrels a day from Canada, if we can get some rationality here. U.S. waterborne crude imports by 2017, 2018 can drop to 4 million barrels a day.